All right, we're back for another Dave Ramsey response, reaction, whatever the fuck. We'll go with reaction. Another one about being responsible with your credit cards, and what if I am? I mean, for the first time in my life. I mean, talk to me, several years ago. I'd be like, I'll pay that shit later, and I paid the price for that. So yeah, this is for people like me who are currently responsible with their credit cards. And why is that still against Dave Ramsey's rules? And again, I am a fan of Dave Ramsey for the most part. I do disagree on the credit card thing. I mean, I agree with not putting yourself in debt. But he's 110% against credit cards for anything, and just says that the whole benefit of using them is pointless. So, anyways, let's get on with this.
Josh is with us in Youngstown, Ohio. Hi, Josh. How are you?
Hi, Dave. Doing great. Thank you for doing the service.
Well, thank you. How can I help?
So my girlfriend turned me on to you a couple of weeks ago, and this thought has been in my head ever since. I understand your love of credit cards in our lives, right? My question is, if a person has the discipline to live within their means, not overspend, and stay within their budget, would it be permissible, so to speak, in your system to use a credit card if it can accumulate you money? Like, I have one credit card that I've ever had that gives me 5% cash back on certain things at certain times. And not only can I use that money to accumulate for future purposes, so to speak, as credit that I don't have to pay towards, but I can also put that money straight into my account and tax-free if I choose. Again, I think the main word is discipline, but me personally, I have no debt, and I've used this to my advantage many times, but I was wondering how you felt about it.
Yeah. How old are you?
31.
31. Okay. When we did Chris Hogan's book, The Everyday Millionaire, we studied.
Okay. He likes to throw in the millionaire thing. I said this in the last Ramsey reaction videos. I don't look at using credit cards as a way to build wealth. And and I don't spend more on my credit cards. Like you know, I don't. Like I said, I have a very I keep a very I have a very limited credit line, and I like to keep my credit utilization, you know. I like to try and stay in that 30% range. Sometimes I've had to go to 50%, but normally I'm pretty good at keeping at 30%, if not a little less. And it's been a good training tool to literally stay on budget because I don't have thousands and thousands of dollars in my credit line. So that's a good mental training tool, the way I look at it, right? But no, I still invest. You know what I mean? To me, that is what builds you to your millionaire status, which is not a status I ever want to be public about. And I'll save that for another video.
Did the largest study of
Silent wealth is the way to go, in my opinion. Less people hate you.
millionaires in North America ever done. Over 10,000 of them. And so we have really good data on what makes someone wealthy. Out of the 10,167 millionaires that we interviewed, not a single one said, Dave, I made all my money with my credit card points.
That's anyway. I'm not going to keep repeating myself.
I took advantage of a multi-billion-dollar corporation who has more invested in studying me and my behavior patterns, and I whipped their butt. None of them said that. None of them said, I'm going to join up for their game and play it and think I'm going to win. None of them said that. And so I consequently, when I started talking to wealthy people, when I went broke, I was 28 years old. When I went broke, I'm 60 now. I lost everything because of debt. It wasn't credit card debt, but it was because of debt. And I started studying this stuff. And when I started studying wealthy people, I have never found anyone that thought, that was under the illusion that they're actually winning at the credit card game. So I got out of the credit card business. I carry a debit card. And by the way, the debit card will do everything the credit card will do except accumulate these points, which we have established in the last few moments are not a wealth building method.
Yes, technically I do have a debit card with my bank, but I rarely use it.
Yeah. Well, that's what I have, and that's all I have. And I just decided not to play their game.
Okay.
Because let me tell you how complicated and sophisticated these guys are. When you call Citibank,
Okay.
your zip code shows up.
I know. Okay. I do believe that with your brand, you should have certain catchphrases. And one thing I do like about Ramsey is he has some pretty slick catchphrases and examples. But I understand the sophistication of how credit cards market and how their operations go. There's plenty of other corporations that are good at what they do to keep you giving them a little bit of this. But again, there's we're not getting to the point of hey, I pay it off every month. And I know he doesn't care about credit scores and stuff like that. So you're not going to convince Ramsey to see things your way within this subject matter.
NSX on your phone number shows up and it dials in a zip code, meaning the first 3 digits of your 7-digit zip code. And it pre-selects a script based on the area of the country that you're in, and it pre-selects the person who's going to be speaking to you and what accent they're going to have. And so if you're calling from the South, you're very likely, if you're calling customer service, to get someone from the South. If you're calling into collections, you're going to get someone from Brooklyn because that's like fingernails down a chalkboard for someone from the South.
I want to say that I love East Coast accents. Maybe that's just because I grew up on the gangster films, and then me being, and obviously me being a fan of hip hop and being an artist as well, and been to New York. I just love the accent. New York accents, New Jersey accents are great. Um, the Boston accents are fucking awesome. I don't know. If I could have any accent in the world, I would want an East Coast one, and especially when they're aggressive. I love East Coast accents when they're aggressive. It's just they mean fucking business. So yeah, if I could, if I got called by collections, he's like, "Hey, yo, what's money over here?" I wouldn't even be mad. I love it.
And their goal is to irritate you if you're in collections. It's very sophisticated. They know the type of bottled water you likely drink before they pick up the phone.
Interesting.
They know your buying patterns. They know your income levels based on the zip code that you're in and your NSX. The data that they're operating with is highly sophisticated. The chances of these guys losing money on a transaction with you is almost zero. And so this is like playing with a very large old snake that knows his stuff. He's going to bite your freaking head off. So I would.
Man, I really want to hear Dave Ramsey cuss. Like, I want to hear him say, fuck, shit, motherfucker, God. Well, he's not going to say goddamn. He's a pretty devoted Christian, so probably wouldn't. And I get his show is family oriented. But man, and he might, and I know guys who are very religiously devoted, and they don't cuss. They avoid cussing and on it any way possible. They just, and I think a lot of it is they don't want to. I think a lot of them is just kind of controlling their anger levels. And so I think a lot of that controlling your temper has a lot to do with type of language you use. So if you use euphemisms and you're like, "Oh, they gonna kick your butt," versus they're gonna fucking whoop your ass. Like it's just a different fuck if they go, "Oh, fudge." So, but man, I just anytime like Dave Ramsey gets to a point where he gets super like blunt, and definitely to a point where he starts yelling. I love his yelling. I don't know. But I would love to hear him cuss. I think it would be even better. But I respect his devotion.
Do it. You do what you want to do, but I wouldn't do it. And I've got friends that do it. They pay off their credit card every month, and
Here we go.
some of them are wealthy. But none of them are under the illusion that their points or their airline miles caused them to be wealthy.
Okay, I get the misconception people are possibly having, but even he just said that he has wealthy friends with credit cards to pay him off every month. But he did say like they don't believe in the illusion. And I'm sure there's some people that definitely believe in that illusion that their airline points, free hotel points, of anything, any type of vacation that they think that cost them nothing, that it was free. We knew, look, anyone who knows anything about this knows that, yeah, we've been paying for it the whole time to reach those points. But it's just the fact that the vacation you're about to go on, for the most part, could be free at that moment. Didn't, but to be complete technical, you did pay for that over time. So, just know what you're getting. That's all what it is. And so I do like the fact that he is pointing out the delusion that your typical middle American person probably believes when it comes to credit cards.
Or are they under the illusion that they're actually winning at a game with freaking Citibank, or a game with J.P. Morgan, or a game with, I mean, can you imagine? Oh, no. So I wouldn't play with it, sir. You asked my opinion, and I think you already knew it before you asked, but that's what I wouldn't do. How long has it been since you had a credit card?
When Stacy came to work for you, we only had one.
That's 20 years ago.
Yeah. You don't even know the difference. I mean, it's, again, like you say, the debit card can do everything. It's real purchasing versus this myth. And you can just fall into a trap. You just never know when some emergency happens. If you don't have the baby steps in place and you don't have a real emergency fund in place, Josh, you just, it's too much of a temptation to then say, oh, well, I've got it, I'm going to use it. Now you're behind the eight ball.
The other pieces of data we've got is that any kind of non-cash transaction, debit, credit, Apple Pay.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Any of these, they're what are called low-friction transactions. When you spend with cash, it activates the pain centers of your brain, and it does.
I will say, spending money with actual cash is different. Yeah, I will say every time I've ever used a credit card for a purchase, even now, knowing, there is you don't feel as much as you do when you give someone a $50 bill and you know you're never getting it back. So I get what he's saying, but I do use credit cards with the mentality of, hey, you have this budget. So, but trust me, I know I don't want to say back in the old days, but several years ago when I treated it like free money, I was out of control. Rest in peace to those days.
When you do a low friction transaction with plastic, and actually credit cards are lower friction because somewhere deep down in your psyche, you don't have to pay it. You don't have to have the money in the account today. I just got to get my paycheck by the end of the month, or I can pay one of those easy payments.
Right.
And somewhere down in your psyche, your intellect tells you that, and so you have a tendency to spend more. And all kinds of different pieces of research showing that you spend more with credit cards than you do with debit cards, and more with debit cards than you do with cash.
Yeah. That's just psychology.
Again, because it's a psychology of behavior, and it doesn't matter how disciplined you are. I'm disciplined. I teach this stuff for a living, and we're on a cruise ship, and of course there's no money on a cruise ship these days. Back when we used to have cruises, remember those? And your door key, your door key will buy anything on the boat. And I find myself buying the kids, $6 ice cream cones or whatever. Same thing in Disney property. Your door key will work. It's your own property, and you can buy one of those $63 raincoats and not think anything about it because it rains every afternoon. Disney arranged that.
True.
And so, but you just don't realize it emotionally that you're overspending and that you're spending more than you would, even if you're disciplined. I'm pretty dadgum disciplined. I teach this for a living.
Right.
But I get back to the room and I'm like going, dadgum.
And you can afford a lot of $63
we bought some stuff. I can afford it, but I'm just looking at the bill going, we bought some stuff. It's like swipe, swipe, swipe.
Right.
And
I heard you say this once. We were talking about this one time. We have a mutual friend who posed that one time. We were hanging out at his house, and he was literally asking all this, and you said the same thing. And it's funny that really wealthy people don't need airplane miles.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Anyways, I think all right. I mean, I think there is definitely there's a divide here on kind of the point I'm making when it comes to utilizing credit cards for its benefits and its protection versus, and like I said, like I'm 50-50 on the protection, but even because like I said, the debit cards I use have looked out for me, and I've never had a fraud issue, but I've had my bank text me when they thought when they saw there was a questionable purchase made, they want to make sure it was really me. But if I really was the victim of fraud, I see Capital One getting that money immediately where I have zero liability versus a bank that's probably going to take some time to look into it. I have not been defrauded before, so it's questionable. So, anyways, on with that and the other. That's all I got on this one, guys. Have a good day.